Hey guys, welcome to another video. My name is Ian, I'm Ian the Reader, and today... Wait, what? What? Not again. Okay, sorry about that guys, I was in the upside down. Anyway, hey guys, welcome to another video. My name is Ian, I'm Ian the Reader, and today I'm back with another video. This time something a little bit different. So, if you are like me, and like basically everyone I guess, you have been swept away by the incredible masterpiece that is Stranger Things. I don't know how this show just keeps on getting better, but it does. This show continues to surprise and amaze me. No matter how many episodes in I get, I keep waiting for it to get not as good, and it's just so good. I love it. As of posting this video though, the final episodes of season 4 are on Netflix, which means we have another 2 to 3 years to wait until we get new episodes after you get through season 4, and that just breaks my heart. But it's gonna be okay, because there are books, and that's what I'm here to talk to you about today. I am here to recommend to you books to read if you enjoy Stranger Things. Now, a little bit of a disclaimer with this. These are not Stranger Things copies. These are not will fit perfectly into the Stranger Things shaped hole in your heart types of books. However, each of the books that I'm going to discuss and recommend in this video have some aspect of their plot, or their setting, or their characters that reminds me of Stranger Things and helps to appease my desire to watch more Stranger Things content at least a little bit. Before we get into the rest of the video though, it would mean so much to me if you would like and subscribe if you haven't already. I post videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and I would love it if you stuck around. Another slight aside before getting further into this video though, I am recommending all these books because of their similar qualities to Stranger Things, not necessarily giving my full stamp of approval saying that I love all of these books, because while I enjoyed all of these books to a certain extent, some of them are 5 stars, some of them are like 3 stars, and the books fall in between, but I don't think there is a book on this list that I wouldn't recommend, at least with a 3-star rating. So let's go ahead and start off with a new release, that being Ordinary Monsters by J.M. Miro. This book just came out in June, so it is the perfect time to pick it up if you're interested. So let me tell you a little bit of what this book is about. This is historical fantasy set in the 1800s, and it goes all over the place. You see England and Scotland and I think New Orleans and all over the States, and I think it even goes to Hong Kong. I can't remember all the places it goes, but it's all over the map. We follow a group of children who are called the Talents. What that means is they are orphaned children who have special abilities for one reason or another. It's not really talked about too much, at least in book 1, because this is a trilogy, but these children have special abilities. One child can turn invisible, another can heal himself, and there are a lot of other abilities that exist in that world as well. We also follow 2 detectives whose job it is to find these children and bring them back to Carrie Institute in Scotland, I believe. I don't remember where it's at exactly, but that doesn't really matter all that much. That being said, it is not as easy as that because of 2 reasons. One, a man made of smoke is on the chase trying to get these children for his own nefarious purposes, and Carrie Institute is not quite as lovely as it may first seem, because underneath the school there is a portal to a very dark place that I won't get too much into because it is a little bit spoilery, but it is very reminiscent of the Upside Down in some ways. So that underground portal is one reason I might recommend this to you if you enjoy Stranger Things, but then in addition to that we have a very close-knit group of children, which is also very reminiscent of the group of kids at the center of Stranger Things, and there are these special abilities that come into play as well. I had a little bit mixed emotions about this, but I definitely see a lot of potential, and I have seen a lot of strong reviews for this book as well, so if this does interest you, I highly recommend picking it up. Next, let's go ahead and talk about a little bit older of a book, and that is Boy's Life by Robert R. McCammon. I think this book came out in like 1989 or maybe like in the 1990s, I can't remember exactly, but it's a little bit older, definitely older than Ordinary Monsters, but I really love this book. This was a 5-star book for me. This is set in a small town, and it follows a young boy who's growing up in his city, just about him kind of encountering things for the first time, losing his innocence a little bit, not only because of the normal experiences of boyhood, but also because there is a murder that has taken place in his hometown, and there's something very dark and mysterious and a little bit magical going on in it. There's definitely a little bit of magical realism in this book, like I said, that definitely reminds me of Stranger Things, but the biggest draws for this are going to be the setting, because I think it's set like in the 60s or maybe the 70s, I can't remember exactly, but it's got a very nostalgic feel to it. You also have these young characters who are growing up, and the nostalgia is there for them, but also this loss of what they used to have, which is very present in the later seasons of Stranger Things as well. And then you have that magical element and kind of the mystery aspect as well. I highly recommend this book. I thought it was beautiful and amazing and mysterious and suspenseful and a little bit horrifying as well. This is traditionally a horror author. I'm pretty sure he writes horror a lot. This is a little bit more on like the literary contemporary side, but with a lot of horror and mystery thriller aspects in there as well. I cannot recommend this book enough. It is amazing. Now let's go in a little bit of a different direction and talk about a manga series that you might like if you enjoy Stranger Things. That is Uzumaki by Junji Ito. Now, don't get alarmed or worried if I'm recommending a manga series thinking that you're committing to a ton of reading, because this is only 3 volumes, and honestly, you can find it in 1 volume in a lot of places, more often than in the individual volumes at this point, I think. Let me tell you a little bit of what this story is about, though. We center upon a town in Japan that is being overrun not by any particular monster or being, but by a pattern, that being Uzumaki, or the spiral. People become obsessed with it. It manipulates their thoughts and drives them mad, and it also manipulates their bodies in other ways as well. This book is absolutely crazy. It is horrifying and engaging and thrilling, but really, I think that it reminds me of Stranger Things because of 2 things. One, you have this town that is normal at the start, but is being overrun by this dark force that some people believe in, a lot of people are naive to, but it's slowly manipulating them, and that reminds me a lot of plot points that come into Stranger Things in some of the later seasons especially, but also early on. But in addition to that, you also have these young characters who are having to deal with this. The adults are kind of naive for the most part, which not all the adults are naive in Stranger Things, don't get me wrong, there are some great ones. Hopper, I'm looking at you. But this series does focus primarily on younger characters having to delve into facing this great evil. I can't recommend these enough though, and if you're wanting to try graphic novels or manga, this is a great starting point as well. I haven't read a ton, but I was really comfortable reading these, and it's a really great time. Now let's go ahead and talk about a YA series that I read when I was younger that definitely reminds me of Stranger Things, and that series is I Am Number 4 by Pittacus Lore. So there was a movie adaptation of this, which I did not like at all, but I had a lot of fun with the book series when I read it when I was in high school. This is a series that actually revolves around teenagers who are from another world. They are not Earthlings, they are something else, but they look like human beings and act like human beings for the most part, except that they have different special abilities. Another alien race called the Mogadorians are traveling throughout the earth hunting these children, and it's pretty crazy. I actually had a really good time with this, not only because of like the hunting aspect and these kids being on the run, but also you get to experience them kind of confronting the fact that they're not human and they're not normal, and having to go through these things while also being young people who are just trying to deal with the normal feelings and emotions that go along with growing up. In addition to that, the powers that these kids have are super cool. I thought it was a really fun read, and I actually never finished the series. I think there are like 8 books in the original series, and I read up to the very last one. I may have to go back and reread these because they are a lot of fun. But I definitely think that this can be enjoyed by people who like Stranger Things. One, because of those young characters who have supernatural things going on in their lives, but also want to just feel like normal people as well. But then in addition to that, I think the power aspect, again, is a really cool thing that I know 11 is pretty much the only character that has powers in Stranger Things, but all these kids having powers and having to deal with those and train with those is a really cool thing to read, and it's just a great time. Now let's go ahead and talk about one of my favorite authors, Stephen King. This will not be his only appearance on the list, so be prepared, there will be another one, but the first book I wanted to talk about is Carrie. This is Stephen King's debut novel, and I know a lot of people know what this book is about, but just to give you a little bit of a refresher, we follow Carrie, who is a young high school student. I think she's 17 in this book, and she has telekinetic abilities, something that she's just kind of discovering and trying to figure out what's going on with her, really. But we have this other aspect of her going to high school and being bullied and having a really terrible home life and all of these other weights that are on her shoulders. To be honest, the only thing that really reminds me of Stranger Things with this book is this young girl with telekinetic abilities, but I kind of like to see this as a strange twist on Stranger Things, in which 11 is a normal girl with telekinetic abilities rather than what she is in the show, and she just has a terrible home life. It's kind of like a twist on it, almost like a retelling. I kind of had that in mind when I was reading this book, and that added to my enjoyment of it. I highly recommend Carrie, though. Even if you know what happens in this book, it is still an amazing time and one of my favorite Stephen King books. Next, I want to go ahead and recommend My Best Friend's Exorcism by Grady Hendrix, and I'm also going to casually recommend the Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires as well if you enjoy Stranger Things, because I think both of them have like some aspects of it that are reminiscent of Stranger Things. But let's go ahead and talk about My Best Friend's Exorcism first. In this, we follow a group of young girls who are just trying to grow up and be normal in the 80s, and you definitely have a lot of that 80s nostalgia that you see in Stranger Things present in this book, whether it be just the style that they're wearing or the music that they're listening to or the shows that they watch. There's a lot of 80s nostalgia present in this book, and you can clearly see that from the cover as well. But moving past that, one of the girls, through a series of unfortunate events, ends up being possessed by a demon, and it takes some supernatural turns from there. This book is wild, it is funny, it is moving, because you have these kids that are just trying to stick together and support each other and be friends, but there's this force that is weighing upon them that they don't really understand, and it's dark, it's twisted and fun, and I had a blast with it. Definitely the big recommends for here as far as Stranger Things fans go is the 80s nostalgia. If you enjoy that, this is a great book to pick up, but you also have the supernatural aspect of it as well. And then, like I said, I did want to go ahead and casually recommend the Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires as well. This is very, very different from Stranger Things, but the setting, it's actually set in the same town, even in the same neighborhood and around the same time period as My Best Friend's Exorcism. Not a direct sequel by any means. I actually read the Southern Book Club first, and then I read My Best Friend's Exorcism, so you don't have to read them in any particular order. But this is set in kind of the same neighborhood, so you get that nostalgia feel as well. But this is kind of like, what if, rather than these kids having to face the supernatural force, it was Mrs. Wheeler, or one of the adults who is like a suburban mom who doesn't really necessarily know what is motivating her in her life aside from her family, wanting to discover herself, but at the same time being the only person who has any idea that there's this supernatural force at work in her town, in this particular instance being a vampire. So this is a lot of fun as well, and it was really funny. There's actually one scene in particular that straight up reminded me of a rat sequence in Stranger Things Season 3, so just keep that in mind if you're a little squeamish with rats or blood or gore or vomit or whatever. Same disclaimer for the last book I recommended. They're like gross out kind of books, but if you can watch Stranger Things, you can probably handle that. Next, I want to go ahead and recommend a classic book, that being A Wrinkle in Time. This is a very popular book, and for a very good reason, and I think that it is amazing. If you've never read this, if you've only watched the movies, I highly recommend reading it because it is a blast. But A Wrinkle in Time follows a group of kids who are siblings, and their father has disappeared. Everyone thinks he is gone for good, but they still hold on to hope that he is out there. And in this story, you find them confronting the demons of their past while also trying to find their father, and end up exploring this amazing world that they didn't think existed. So there are a lot of things about this book that remind me of Stranger Things. First, you've got these young kids, you've got a loved one who has disappeared into another world that they are then going to have to go and try to save, and you've got this mysterious world that is full of dark and creepy aspects, but also wondrous aspects as well. I really enjoyed this book, and I think you would like it if you liked Stranger Things. My second to last recommendation is The Rook. This book is wild and kind of weird and kind of amazing, so I don't want to spoil a lot of what this book is about, but this woman comes to in a park surrounded by dead bodies, and she has no idea who she is, she has no idea how she got there, and she has no idea what's going on. And the plot goes from there. I'm not going to dig too much into what the actual plot of this book is because I don't want to spoil anything, but just know that there are supernatural beings at work. There's a secret government organization that is trying to uncover these secret and supernatural aspects, and our main character is just along for the ride as she tries to remember who she is, what is going on, and what her role in everything is. This book is wild. I haven't read the sequel yet, but I really want to, and I feel like this book is super underrated as well. I never hear anybody talking about it, and it is a lot of fun. And my last book is one that I feel like is the most obvious choice, and I think a lot of people actually think about this book when they're watching Stranger Things, but I love this book so much, so I had to mention it. That is It by Stephen King. What can I say about this book that has not already been said? You've got an amazing group of characters, young and old, past and future, growing up in this city that is being destroyed from within by this super dark force, in the case of this book being Pennywise, and these kids have to be the ones to overcome this dark force. It is twisted, it is sad, it is violent and heartbreaking and amazing and beautiful. I love this book so much. There's so much nostalgia in this book as well, which is very strongly present in Stranger Things, and I think that this book is absolutely amazing. It is chunky, it is not perfect, but I love it so much. If you enjoy Stranger Things, you have to read It by Stephen King. But that is it. Those are all my recommendations of books to read if you enjoyed Stranger Things. Let me know in the comments if you've read any of these and if you agree with me that there are some things that remind you of Stranger Things. Like I said, none of these are copycats of Stranger Things, but all of them remind me of that amazing series for one reason or another. Also, let me know in the comments if any of these books sound good to you or if you plan on picking any of them up. I would love to hear from you. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!